I don't want to keep y'all too late. I know y'all got stuff to do. Now, so today we're going to discuss three things. We're going to discuss perseverance, haters, and what fears you've been facing. So when a basic Google definition of perseverance is persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. Some synonyms for perseverance are persistence, tenacity, determination, resolve, resolution, staying power, purposefulness, firmness of purpose. I can go on, but I think y'all understand the gist of this conversation and where we're about to go. So, Kel, I'm going to start with you because we've discussed a number of topics as far as like school and definitely basketball, and you training with my man Leland and some of the frustrations that you went through in your basketball season on varsity. So, in like right now, within the last week or two, what have you been doing to persevere, to overcome hardship and get past some of the things that you faced last basketball season?
Well, I've been doing a lot of training with him recently, and I've been taking the drills and doing them on my own some. And obviously I've been working with you and making sure I'm healthy with PT. But basketball specifically, I think I'm doing these drills to persevere through the unfortunate situation that was last season, so I can make it my decision for how I want the season to be instead of letting the coach determine that. And I also think that Leland's like classes and his exercises are a good test of perseverance, because the last drill we did this past Sunday, we had to he called them machine gun dribbles, and you just dribble the ball as low as you can really rapidly up and down the court. Like you have to go to the free throw line, back, and then to the half court and back, and you have to do that a few times. And that is a grueling kind of exercise. And in itself, I think his drills like consist of a lot of perseverance needed.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing I could say about Leland and knowing him, he's going to put you something in his own way where you have to get through it. And one of the things, if you're an athlete, you have to figure out a way to get through that. And it's like you got to go into what he calls that skullduggery of it. Like, how can you psychologically figure out a way to get through this workout, knowing that it's not going to kill you, even though it feels that way at the time? Or like the difficulty of it, or figuring out the way to do it right in terms of the cues that he's giving you, even if you're doing everything, even if everything you're doing appears to be wrong, which can be quite challenging. I know him; he's a good friend, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you? What are you saying to yourself during those times when you're going through these experiences, you know, of difficulty in training or adversity in training for like an hour or 90-minute session?
I just kind of deal with it. I just kind of do the exercise and know that it's like, this is kind of what you signed up for. And also on the last kind of like the victory lap of the machine gun dribbles, I was almost talking to myself out loud because I was the last one getting back. I was finishing last, and I was just saying, just halfway there, you're halfway there, you're halfway there, you're almost there, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going, because I didn't want to like have to pause and stop again. I just wanted to finish. So like kind of just talking to yourself or motivating yourself in some way like that.
Most of some of the guys that you play with, they will probably unravel in some of his practices and scrimmages or some of the things that they go through. So you got to know that, man, if I can handle this, I can handle my team, you know, and knowing that those guys couldn't get through his workout, so they probably take something personal, you know, and that's just a fact of the matter. In most things, people normally whittle themselves out. You know?
And even if they do make it through, a lot of them wouldn't come back the second time.
Exactly. You know, so Logan, we're talking about perseverance, and a basic definition of perseverance is persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. You know, so that's where we're at right now. We're going to talk about having haters and what fears and some of the fears that you've been facing. So, Charles, we're talking. Unmute your mic. What have you been doing to persevere, and what obstacles have you been trying to get over, or get through, or bust past?
Well, I've been training with Casey, this guy over in Portland for basketball, and with you. And some obstacles I've had to go through was like, let's see, there's a few drills where you have to like start a step all the way down the court. And for me, that's not hard for me, but it's a hard workout. And like during like these workouts I do with him, I just like tell myself I can do this, and stuff like that. And just getting through the workout and knowing that like you'll like lettuce for water or whatever, and just getting through it and doing it the best I can.
Okay, so and then within that, how do you relate that perseverance, or the struggle of getting through a difficult or a workout that might be putting some adversity on you? How do you connect that to the future?
Afterwards I just think about like saying, oh well, I connect that to the future by like thinking about like, oh, I'm probably gonna have to do this later on. And then this is doing this now, it's not gonna be as hard, if easier later. And just saying to myself that like doing this now, in the future, it's gonna be easier. It's not gonna be as hard. And doing this now is prepping me for the future. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can accept that. Logan, talk to us about perseverance. How have you been persevering, and then what have you been persevering for or persevering through?
Persevering really have to do with kind of like your morals and what really you hold dear. Because when you think about those, it really helps you push through like the final set or the final lap, whatever it is. That's really what persevering is for me. And or like when I have to persevere, I think about like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like pretty much just to go back to what I started the whole process for. And that's really what perseverance means to me. But coming back from a knee injury, I have to say, is one of the hardest things I've persevered through. Even now, I'm still not able to run or jump or any high impact things, which is really hard for me because I had to miss my wrestling season and 7-on-7 season. So that was really hard. But I just kept my head down and put my nose to the grindstone. Got in the weight room, did upper body, anything to where I could still be attached to my love for sports and all of that.
The last part I would say for you, man, that's really going to help you is you have to listen to me and get in that damn swimming pool so you can work on your range of motion. I know it's going to be tough, but that's the next step for you, so you can maintain your running motion, and you can put your body into running where you keep that connection to the brain, and then when you get back on land, it's going to snap back that much easier. So that's what I would encourage you to think about. Now, moving on to the haters, Kel, what's been your experience with haters in life, at your school, on your current team or the high school team? What's that been like for you, or how do you deal with that when people might be slighting you, or might be treating you underhanded, or might be saying things behind your back, or doing things to thwart your mission?
I don't think I have too many experiences with people like that who are personally out to get me. But I think I have dealt with kids like that who aren't necessarily out to get you specifically, but kind of out to get everybody, kind of like bullies in a way. And I think what you have to realize is that they're doing it out of a lack of their own self-confidence. And if you can kind of put that to the side and not really care about what they're saying, and know that what you're doing, and you should value what you're doing and not really care about what they're saying, I think that's what's really important. Because I know I faced that a lot in Taekwondo. There are a lot of kids who were who were bigger at the time or who thought they were better or fight kind of dirty. And you would have to just kind of ignore that and just remain, like, keep moral high ground and just beat them in your own way, in the right way.
Charles, what have you been dealing with as far as you know, the haters that might be in your life or in your world? What's been your experiences with that?
Like Kale said, I don't have too many experiences, but like, you know, there's just like some people that I don't know, but I know they're just like, I think like they don't really like either like me or like don't think I'm good at what I do. But I don't really listen to them. They don't say it to my face, but you know, you kind of just tell. But yeah, I just work. I don't pay attention to them. You know, your goal is more important than them and what they think. So yeah, I haven't had any real experiences. It's just you know, maybe sometimes like someone will say something and you just kind of have to ignore that.
Okay, and what about you, Logan? What experiences have you been dealing with in terms of haters or people who slight you?
I've been an outcast 90% of my life. Had a lot of people not like me for what seemed to be no reason, just because of who I am. So with that, like it's different now from when it was when I was super little, like in grade school or like junior high. It's different because you don't really know, you don't have a sense of who you are inside or like who you are. So it's kind of harder to deal with that at a young age. But now I know who I am and I know what I stand for. So it's not easy for people to do that to me anymore.
Yeah, I think all of y'all have said some similar things. And I think the biggest thing you were touching on, Kel, is that you don't take it personal and you have to keep going and you can't listen to what other people say. And they're going to talk. Whenever you're striving to do something great or to be something great or to go somewhere that somebody has never went to before, or if you're competing with an individual, you know, sometimes the insecurities do come out. And that's something that you had referenced to, Kel. And even you, Charles, you said you just don't listen. And you have to be that way. You know, it's almost like it's a paradox. You have to listen, but then not listen at the same time, because somebody could give you some decent information, is what they say. And I think Jay has heard this. Even a clock is right twice a day. So they just might say something that might make sense and not even know it. But then at the same time, you got to be indifferent or really just not care or not give a shit on what somebody else is whispering or saying or rumor spreading, you know. So I think that's key, you know, especially where y'all are going. You know, even for you too, Logan, you just get to a point where you know what you want. Nobody can get in the way of that. And if you keep at it, you know, eventually you're going to get the bells and whistles, you know, or you're going to reach that goal. But if we're listening to people, eventually you will stop. If I was listening to people, the podcast wouldn't be going on 3 years old, you know. So we all have people, and usually it's never blatantly direct, you know. It's normally subtle, you know. So you have more than you think, but it's good when somebody will put themselves on Front Street where you can identify somebody that clearly dislikes you or doesn't want you to succeed in whatever endeavor that you're pushing for. So I just need to be clear about that. You know, sometimes it's very direct. Oftentimes it's very subtle, you know, and it could be people that are really close to you. Sometimes it's family members, you know, sometimes it could be your girlfriend, you know, or it could be a close friend. You just never know. So you have to be self-aware and you have to take a good look at people, you know, because a lot of times when we're young, especially for y'all, relationships, friendships, they never, or they almost rarely get tested. So I want y'all to think about that. And then if a test does come somehow out of the blue, then you know who's your friend and who's not. And it can be often shocking and almost like knock you off your equilibrium because you thought you had somebody that you could trust. And then at the end of the day, you know, probably couldn't trust them with 2 cents. So something to think about. You know, Kel, I want to start with you on this next one. In terms of fears, what is like one specific fear that you've been facing over the last week or so and dealing with?
I would say, I think I'd like to talk about more of the upcoming weeks because that's going to be the final stretch of school. And I think something I'm nervous about there, or I'm fearful of, is a fear of failure, in the sense of not being ready for tests, not doing well on tests or big assignments, projects like that. So I could categorize it as a fear of failure, but I think that's a little more broad. And I wouldn't really know how to call it what it is for, I think, the school atmosphere or school setting.
Well, I can understand where you're coming from because usually we have a fear or an anxiety and it's related to something either in the past or the future. And in this case, for you, you're thinking about the future. So, I mean, you have to be present and take care of the things that you can take care of right now. Now that looks like Jay that's sitting next to you, to your right. Is that true? Hey, Jay, how you doing?
Hey, good evening, everybody.
You know, based on what Kel just said, what advice would you give to the sports parent? You know, if somebody or a student athlete is caught up in the future, you know, there's always some uncertainty. You know, the future uncertain. You don't know what's going to happen. The past has already happened, and some things we don't want to happen again. But in terms of uncertainty, could you speak to that, Jay?
Well, yeah, I can speak to a couple of things. And first to Logan, you know, you're part of our InCast, okay? So, you know, it hurts me to hear that somebody has been an outcast 90% of their life. But I just want to speak to your qualities again. I think I did last week, but man, you're spot on, and I think you're so going in the right direction, and you're such a quality individual. So I feel bad that you would feel that way, but you're going to bring your own energy into the world, and what you experienced in the past is you can just hopefully push it aside and not worry about the petty BS of small people.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, and to Kel's, one of the things I also want to speak to is Kel's comments about his perseverance, and there's a connection to mean-spirited people also. You know, like the other night at Leland's basketball training, Kel said he was the last one, and he was struggling with this thing. It was a really grueling kind of exercise, and he was so far behind that he could have just stopped. And Leland never would have known that he was the last person, to finish. But what happens is Kel doesn't cheat himself in those trainings. He keeps going, and he also has, I think, perseverance. There's a level of humility in there as well. And so you don't worry about how other people are thinking about you. You don't worry that people are hating on you. You just do what you need to do. And if you stick to your guns, and if you stick to that, and you keep training and you keep persevering, you will outgun those haters in any environment, and then you will succeed. And so, Deshaun, the question was going into the future, I think you were asking. The comment that I would make for kids that are in high school right now is that any failure in high school, you get a couple of years out of high school and you look back and go, that was a learning experience. And when you fail in high school, in that moment, you think, "Oh my God, this was the worst thing that has ever happened to me." And a couple of years later, you go, "That wasn't so bad." Or not only was that not so bad, that was something that I learned from, and that you move to the next level if you continue to persevere and continue to develop.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on, Jay, as far as like what happens when we're younger, and then if you let some time go by and you get a chance to reflect, you see as it wasn't as serious of a situation that you thought it was, and oftentimes you can look back and laugh at the situation, and even from time to time, being able to laugh at yourself or laugh at your own follies or antics, But it is always learning, and it's great to reflect. In terms of Charles, I wanted to talk to you and ask you what fears have you been facing?
Well, like for me, I would say like school, since like so Monday is like the end of the quarter, and then that's when like all the teachers get in all like the grades, like all like the homework, all the tests, they get in all that. So for me, like I guess it's kind of school related. So like just getting in all my stuff and doing good on all my tests, it's like sometimes it can be stressful because like right now I'm doing this collapse project and I have to do it by Friday, and it's like a 9-part project. So I have to get all that done. I have to get everything done by Friday, and every like missing assignment I have to get that in by Friday. So that's like kind of a fear I have right now. But other than that, that's about it. It's just getting all my stuff in.
So you have a fear of not getting it done?
Yeah, or not having enough time.
So what are some things you're going to do to combat that anxiety or to combat that feeling?
Like just working on it. After we get done with this call, I'm gonna do the assignment, the project I was talking to you about for this world history class, and when I get back in school, I'm just gonna like ask my teachers what things I need to retake and what like tests or homework I need to retake. So far I think I have maybe one. I don't know. I have to relook, but I usually like ask all my teachers what homework assignments I need, what tests or quizzes I need to retake, and they pull it out and they're like, "Here you go," and I retake it and get all that done. So.
One of the things I want to say before we close out, and I want y'all to think about going into our next meeting, because I think we have 2 meetings left after this, is that reassess what your current goals are. And that could be in life, long term, that could be academically, it could also be athletically, but reassess what your goals are. And then why? Ask yourself why this goal or why that goal? Or what is the purpose? Because I really feel like, in terms of when you look at the future and when you look at the past and you hear about people that might thwart your mission by giving ridiculous comments or telling you that you can't do something, I feel like you always have to know the hows and the whys. And we've talked about this before, but now it's time to take it a step further, because you guys are starting to mature, and you have to be willing to go without certain types of friends. And you have to be willing to cut people off. It might be people that you like. And that's a very difficult thing to do, to just close off and tighten up your circle. So again, think about your goals. Think about your whys. Why do you have that goal? What's the purpose? What's the whole point of it? And is it worth it to keep going? And I think most of y'all that answer, it should definitely be yes, but y'all need to think about it deeply. And it's time to start getting certain people out of your life. And I'm not hinting at anything. I'm just talking. And because these are the conversations that I have with other men and other women when it's time to tighten your circle and not have any distractions. There's always going to be some negative people around you, but getting those types of people out of the way, or limiting your contact with them and not letting them have access to you so easily. Does that make sense? So those are some of the things that I want y'all to consider next week. Who can you remove out of your fucking life that's no good? Who's dead weight right now? Let's just put it that way. Who's dead weight? Who's not helping? Who's a hindrance? What attitudes, what personalities are a hindrance? And how can you minimize that? And then keep your psychic energy going in a positive and constructive direction. So we're going to close out right there, and we'll reconvene next week.